Get some reaction to that with Dr. Stephen Nolan, who's a lecturer in economics at Liverpool John Moores University. Morning to you, Steve.
Hi, Tammy. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for coming on. I mean, it sounds good on paper, train British workers up for jobs currently being offered to labour from abroad. But is it actually that simple?
No. With these things, they never are. Obviously, Keir Starmer yesterday talked a lot about apprenticeships. One of the key statistics he meant that he saw evidence that apprenticeships starts were going down in the exact sectors where immigration visas were going up. And he talks about new apprenticeship schemes, but we've had a bevy of apprenticeship schemes over the past decade and a half, and they don't seem to be working. We've had the apprenticeship levy, which hasn't really had the demand from employers that we hope for. We see that we've got a lower number of starts for apprenticeships in all age groups, much lower than they were in 2015 and 16. And one of the focuses that the Prime Minister was talking about yesterday was in young people. And the starts in apprenticeships we do tend to skew a bit older. 48% of starts in 2022-23 were for over 25s. So there's areas he can work in there, but it won't be easy, as you ask.
And in terms of this, are we talking about things like working in the hospitality sector, care industry, farms, places like that where we use labour from abroad?
I'd say now the largest sector is health and social care. And actually, for the government, there is something they could do there, especially within the social care sector where we are importing in a lot of workers. And the reason is fundamentally is basically a supply and demand question. I'm an economist. Everything comes down to that fundamentally. But if we wanted domestic workers to work in the care industry, which is a hard industry, it's a highly skilled job, but the pay does not match that. The government has power there. It's ultimately kind of the largest buyer of that service. So it has the power to raise both the wages and also improve the working conditions. That theory would suggest would then attract domestic workers into that industry, and we wouldn't have to rely on immigration so highly. So that is something it could do. But obviously, that kind of thing will cost money. And then there's a question of, do we raise taxes to pay for that?
Yeah. And that's the bottom line with so many of these things, because whilst it's all good and well talking about training, I think you're quite right. The issue isn't necessarily with that, but it's whether young people in the UK actually want to do a 12-hour shift that can be physical, that can be demanding. My dad's in residential care, and I see the work that these people do on a 12-hour shift, and particularly when they're dealing with fragility or maybe things like dementia, that there is so much to do. That I think they're worth their weight in gold, these people, and I don't think they earn anywhere near enough. So I guess if people want this to happen and want the jobs to happen, it's digging deep in the coffers. Where's it going to come from, though? I don't know.
Well, this is the question, and in many ways, this is what everyone is waiting for now another month for the budget on the 30th of October. We've had kind of a lot of complaints about nothing was really announced at this conference this week, but that was always going to happen. We will have a greater idea of what this government's priorities are, both kind of politically, but also economically, when we all watch on the 30th of October.
Absolutely. We'll no doubt be tapping you up to talk to you then as well, because there's going to be a lot to pick over. Steve, thank you so very much indeed. Do appreciate your time.
No problem.
Brilliant. Dr. Steve Nolan, lecturer in economics at Liverpool John Moores University.